The test came back positive, and the father was inside the room. Before we dive into the story, drop a comment below and tell us where you're watching from. Enjoy the story. The small emergency room in Pinewood, Arkansas, was usually quiet on Tuesday afternoons. Dr. Eleanor West had come to appreciate these moments of calm since moving from Chicago 3 months ago. The rural hospital was worlds away from the bustling medical center where she'd built her career, but that was precisely why she'd chosen it. Tonight, however, the quiet was shattered when the emergency doors burst open. "Please, somebody help." A young man, barely out of his teens, cradled a small figure wrapped in a faded quilt. His eyes darted frantically around the room, a mixture of fear and desperation etched across his face. Dr. West rushed forward. "I'm Dr. West. What happened?" "It's my sister," he said, his voice breaking. "She's been sick for days. The fever won't go down and now she's hardly responding." As Dr. West gently took the child from his arms, she felt a chill run through her. The girl was alarmingly light, her face pale and drawn. Her breathing came in shallow gasps. "What's her name?" "Her," Dr. West asked, already moving toward the examination room. "Lily Matthews. I'm Nathan, her brother." Nurse Jenkins appeared at Dr. West's side. Together, they transferred Lily to an examination table, while Nathan hovered anxiously at the door. "How old is she?" Dr. West asked, checking Lily's pulse. 10, Nathan answered, his eyes never leaving his sister. Dr. West nodded, noting the girl's small frame. She looked younger. "And your parents?" Nathan hesitated. "It's just us right now." Dr. West glanced up, catching something in his tone. But there was no time to press further. Lily's condition was her priority. "Lily, can you hear me?" Dr. West asked gently, shining a light into the girl's eyes. Lily stirred slightly but didn't fully respond. The examination revealed concerning signs. Lily was severely dehydrated and malnourished. Her abdomen was distended, and there were unusual rashes on her arms and legs. Most worrying was her temperature, 103.2 degrees Celsius. "We need to start an IV immediately," Dr. West directed, "and I want a full blood panel, urinalysis, and abdominal ultrasound." As Nurse Jenkins prepared the IV, Dr. West stepped out to speak with Nathan, who was pacing the hallway like a caged animal. "Your sister is very ill," she said directly. "How long has she been like this?" "The fever started 3 days ago," Nathan replied, "but she hasn't been right for weeks. I thought it was just a stomach bug, but then she stopped eating and—" His voice trailed off. "Nathan, I need to ask you some difficult questions," Dr. West said. "Has Lily had regular medical care?" Nathan's expression darkened. "We don't have insurance. I've tried to take care of her the best I could." Dr. West nodded, keeping her face neutral despite her growing concern. "When was the last time Lily saw a doctor?" Nathan looked away. "A while." The evasiveness in his answers was troubling, but Dr. West saw something else in the young man's eyes. Not guilt, but exhaustion. The kind that comes from carrying a burden too heavy for too long. "We'll need to keep her overnight at minimum," she explained. "Are there any allergies or medical conditions I should know about?" Before Nathan could answer, a nurse hurried from the examination room. "Dr. West, you need to see these initial results." Dr. West scanned the preliminary blood work, her eyes widening. She looked back at Nathan, who was watching her intently. "Is she going to be okay?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Dr. West chose her words carefully. "Nathan, there's something very unusual in Lily's test results. I need to know everything about where you've been living and what might have made her sick." For the first time, real fear flashed across Nathan's face. "What's wrong with her?" Before Dr. West could answer, the monitor in Lily's room began to alarm. Dr. West rushed back into the examination room where Lily's heart rate was climbing dangerously high. The girl's body was fighting something hard. "Push 10 cc of antipyretics," Dr. West ordered, "and get that cooling blanket now." Nathan pressed against the doorframe, his knuckles white. "What's happening?" "Her fever's spiking," Dr. West explained, keeping her voice steady despite the urgency. We need to bring her. Temperature down. As the medical team worked to stabilize Lily, Dr. West noticed something strange about the rash pattern on the child's arms. It triggered a memory. Another child, another hospital, years ago. A cold feeling settled in her stomach. Nathan, I need you to fill out some paperwork. While we work, Nurse Jenkins said, gently steering the young man toward the waiting area. Reluctantly, Nathan followed, glancing back at his sister with each step. Once Lily was stabilized, Dr. West studied her chart in the quiet of her office. Something about this case tugged at her. Professionally and personally, she pulled up Pinewood's limited medical database and searched for Matthews. The results were sparse. A birth record for Lily Matthews 10 years ago. Childhood vaccinations until age 6, then nothing. A birth record for Nathan Matthews 21 years ago. Their mother, Sarah Matthews, had prenatal care at the county clinic for both pregnancies. No record of their father. Dr. West, Nurse Jenkins appeared at the door. That young man is asking for updates every 5 minutes. And something else, Martha from the front desk says the Matthews kids are those children from the old property by Sawyer Creek. Says nobody's seen much of them in years. Dr. West frowned. Years? What about school? That's just it. Martha says the girl hasn't been in school since 2nd grade. Folks assumed they'd moved away until Nathan would show up for supplies at Miller's store every few weeks. A town this small, and nobody checked on them? Dr. West felt a familiar anger stirring, the same feeling that had driven her from Chicago. And Dr. West, Nurse Jenkins hesitated, lowering her voice. Some of Lily's symptoms, they remind me of those kids from the West Side last summer, the ones who were drinking that contaminated water. The observation sent Dr. West's mind racing. She remembered the ultrasound technician's comments about Lily's liver and spleen enlargement. Run a heavy metal screening, Dr. West said, and call the county health department. Ask if there have been any other similar cases. When she returned to check on Lily, Dr. West found Nathan sitting beside the bed, holding his sister's thin hand. He'd somehow slipped past the nurse's station. Her fever's down, Dr. West said quietly. Nathan nodded without looking up. She's all I've got. The simple declaration held volumes of unspoken history. Dr. West pulled up a chair beside him. Nathan, I'm trying to understand what's made Lily sick, but I need your help. She kept her voice gentle but firm. Where are your parents? Nathan's jaw tightened. Mom left 4 years ago. Said she was going to find work in Little Rock. Never came back. And your father. Gone longer than that. His tone made it clear that subject was closed. Dr. West chose her next words carefully. Nathan, how have you been managing all this time? I do odd jobs. Mr. Miller lets me. Stock shelves sometimes. I make sure Lily eats even when… He trailed off. Even when what? Dr. West prompted. Nathan finally looked up, his eyes showing a weariness no 21-year-old should possess. Even when there's not much to go around, he finished. But I always made sure she had. Something I swear I did. Dr. West believed him. But before she could respond, her pager beeped. Lily's lab results were in. I'll be right back, she promised. The results confirmed her suspicions and opened a door to new questions. Elevated levels of lead, arsenic, and other contaminants. Severe. Anemia. Signs of chronic inflammation. Dr. West stared at the paper, remembering another set of lab results. Another child. Michael. Her son. The memory hit her with physical force. The phone on her desk rang, jolting her back to the present. Dr. West, it's the county health department. They want to know why you're asking about water contamination cases. The receptionist paused. And there's a man from the mayor's office here asking the same thing. Dr. West drove slowly down the winding dirt road, her GPS struggling to find the Matthews property. Towering pines cast long shadows across the path as afternoon faded into evening. After deflecting questions from the mayor's representative with medical confidentiality, she had decided to see the children's living conditions for herself. The road ended at a clearing, where a small, weathered house stood, paint peeled from its wooden siding, and several windows were covered with plastic sheeting instead of glass. A rusted pickup truck without wheels sat on concrete blocks in the yard. "This can't be right," Dr. West muttered to herself. But the mailbox, half hidden by overgrown bushes, confirmed it. Matthews. Dr. West felt a knot form in her throat as she parked her car. The front door was secured with a heavy padlock. Walking around the perimeter, Dr. West noticed a vegetable garden in the back, small but carefully tended. Tomato plants and beans climbed makeshift trellises. A collection of rain barrels stood nearby, connected by a plastic tubing in an ingenious water collection system. A shed behind the house was unlocked. Inside, Dr. West found shelves of canned goods, carefully labeled and dated in neat handwriting. A calendar on the wall had Lily's symptoms meticulously documented. Stomach pain, 310. Rash on arms. Worse, fever 101 degree. The entries went back months. Dr. West's heart ached. Nathan had been tracking his sister's illness like a trained nurse, doing everything possible with what little he had. Next to the calendar hung a child's drawing, a house with 2 stick figures standing outside. Nathan and Lily's home was written in crooked letters across the top. The simplicity of it brought tears to Dr. West's eyes. She was about to leave when something caught her eye, a stack of envelopes tucked behind a jar. She recognized the letterheads: Department of Human Services, County Health Department, Children's Aid Society. Each letter had been carefully opened, read, and kept. The responses were variations on bureaucratic dismissal, without parental consent, insufficient evidence of need, outside our jurisdiction, case backlog. One after another, Nathan's pleas for help had been filed. Away or returned. Dr. West sat heavily on a wooden stool, the weight of what these children had endured pressing down on her. She thought of her son, Michael, how quickly the system had moved to help him because of her position and connections, and how it had still failed in the end. A noise outside startled her. Through the shed window, she saw an elderly woman walking along the property edge, carrying a small basket. Dr. West stepped outside. "Excuse me?" The woman jumped, nearly dropping her basket. "Oh, you gave me a fright. Are you from the county?" "I'm Dr. Eleanor West from Pinewood Hospital. Lily Matthews is under my care." The woman's expression softened. "That poor child. I'm Clara Bennett. I live about a half-mile down the road." She lifted her basket. "I bring eggs sometimes. Leave them by the shed when Nathan's not around. Boy's too proud to take charity directly." "You've been helping them?" Dr. West asked. Clara nodded. "When I can, not enough, clearly. How is the little one?" "Stable, but very ill." "Mrs. Bennett, how long have the children been living alone here?" Clara glanced away. "Going on 4 years now. Their mama left and never came back, and nobody." "Reported this? 2 children alone?" Clara's face hardened. "Some tried. I called the county myself twice. Nothing came of it. Nathan was already 17 when Sarah left. Almost a man. He convinced everyone he had a distant aunt checking in. By the time folks realized that wasn't true, they'd settled into looking the other way." She shook her head. "Easier to pretend you don't see a problem than to fix it." Dr. West thought about the contamination in Lily's blood work. "The water here. Do they drink from a well?" "They did until it dried up last year. Nathan rigged up those rain barrels." "But," Clara hesitated. "But what?" "When it doesn't rain, I've seen him collecting water from Sawyer Creek, the same creek that runs behind the old factory." Dr. West felt a chill. "Mrs. Bennett, do you know if other children in the area have been sick?" Before Clara could answer, Dr. West's phone rang. "The hospital's number." "Dr. West, you need to come back immediately," Nurse Jenkins said, her voice tight with concern. "Lily's taken a turn, and Nathan is, well, he's demanding to take her home. Says people from the mayor's office came asking questions, and now he doesn't trust anyone." Dr. West rushed back to the hospital, her mind racing. The mayor's sudden interest in Lily's case couldn't be a coincidence. Something bigger was happening in Pinewood. She found Nathan in Lily's room, frantically gathering their few belongings while a nurse tried to reason with him. Lily lay pale. Against the white sheets, her IV drip still attached. "Nathan, stop," Dr. West said firmly. "Lily can't leave yet." "They were asking questions about where we live," Nathan said, his voice tight with panic. "Said they might need to evaluate our home situation." "I know what that means." Dr. West closed the door, creating a private moment. "Nathan, listen to me. I just came from your house. I saw the garden, the rain collection system, the records you kept of Lily's symptoms. I saw the letters." Nathan froze, vulnerability crossing his face. "Then you know I tried to get help." "I do," Dr. West said gently. "And I'm not here to separate you from Lily. I'm here to help you both." Nathan's shoulders slumped as the fight drained out of him. He sank into the chair beside Lily's bed, running his hand through his hair. "I've been taking care of her since she was 6, he said, quietly. "Mom left for a job interview. Said she'd be back in 3 days. After 2 weeks, I knew she wasn't coming." Dr. West watched as he absently adjusted Lily's blanket, tucking it around her with practiced care. "I was 17, he continued. Figured if I told anyone, they'd put us in foster care, split us up. So I dropped out of school, got odd jobs. For a while it was okay. I'd make pancakes in funny shapes to make her laugh. Taught her reading from my old school books." The tenderness in his voice was heartbreaking. "But then she started getting sick. Little things at first, stomach aches, headaches. Then the rashes started and the fevers." Nathan looked up at Dr. West, his eyes haunted. "I tried everything. Changed her diet, boiled the water, got medicines from the pharmacy when I could afford them. Nothing worked. She just kept getting worse." Dr. West pulled up, a chair beside him. "Nathan, Lily's blood tests show high levels of heavy metals. I believe she's been poisoned by contaminated water, possibly from Sawyer Creek." Nathan's face paled. "The factory upstream. People always said not to drink from it, but when the well ran dry and the rain barrels were empty," his voice broke. "Is she going to be okay?" For the first time, Dr. West saw beyond Nathan's protective exterior to the scared young man beneath. "With proper treatment, yes. But Nathan, I need to ask, have you been drinking the same water?" He nodded slowly. "Not as much. I'd save the clean water for her when supplies were low." Dr. West reached for his hand. "I'd like to test you too, and I need your help to find out if other children might be affected." Nathan studied her face, as if searching for deception. "Why do you care so much? Most doctors around here just write prescriptions and move on." Dr. West hesitated, then made a decision. She pulled out her wallet and removed a small photo, passing it to Nathan. "My son Michael," she said quietly. 6 years ago, he showed symptoms similar to Lily's. By the time we discovered it was lead poisoning from our apartment's water pipes, the damage was extensive." She paused, steadying her voice. "The hospital where I worked ignored the early warning signs from other patients in that building. They were low-income families, easy to dismiss." Understanding dawned in Nathan's eyes as he handed the photo back. "That's why you left Chicago." Dr. West nodded. "I couldn't save Michael, but maybe I can help Lily and find out who's responsible for what's happening in Pinewood." Before Nathan could respond, Lily stirred, her eyes fluttering open. "Nathan," she called weakly. "I'm here, Lil," he said. Immediately at her side, Lily's gaze shifted to Dr. West, then back to her brother. "Are we in trouble?" she whispered. "No, sweetheart," Dr. West answered, "but I think someone else might be." The next morning, Dr. West stood before Principal Howard in the administrative office of Pinewood Elementary School. Sunlight streamed through Venetian blinds, illuminating decades-old trophies in a dusty display case. "Lily Matthews hasn't attended school in nearly 4 years, Dr. West said, placing the girl's records on the desk. "Can you explain why no one followed up?" Principal Howard shifted uncomfortably. "We did send notices. When no one responded, her file was marked as moved away." Without confirmation? Dr. West pressed. A child disappears from your school, and that's it? The principal sighed, removing his glasses. Dr. West, you're new here. Our district has lost 40% of its funding in the last decade. We have one part-time social worker covering 3 schools. The Matthews family was difficult to reach even before Sarah left. Difficult to reach or easy to ignore? Dr. West asked. Principal Howard had no answer. From the school, Dr. West drove to Miller's General Store, where Nathan occasionally worked. Frank Miller was stocking shelves when she entered. Nathan's a good worker, Miller said when she introduced herself. Quiet but reliable, always buying canned foods, medicines for his sister. I gave him odd jobs when I could. Did you know they were living alone all this time? Miller's face flushed. I suspected, but... He trailed off, then squared his shoulders. Look, that boy's proud. Whenever I tried to help too much, he'd disappear for weeks. At least by giving him work, I could make sure they had something. And did you ever report their situation to authorities? Miller looked away. In a town this small, folks like to handle things themselves. As Dr. West left the store, she noticed a flyer on the community board. Pinewood Revitalization Project, bringing jobs back. It featured a photo of Mayor Collins breaking ground at the old factory site. The date was from just 6 months ago. At the county health department, Dr. West encountered more resistance. We can't discuss individual cases, the receptionist insisted. I'm not asking for names, Dr. West countered. Just tell me if there's been an uptick in illnesses similar to Lily's, rashes, neurological symptoms, elevated metal levels. The woman's eyes darted to a nearby office where a balding man watched through half-closed blinds. You should speak with Director Simmons, she whispered. But not here. He goes to church at First Baptist. As Dr. West drove back to the hospital, her phone rang. It was Clara Bennett. I've been thinking about what you asked, Clara said. About other sick children. The Wilkins boy 2 miles over had seizures last spring, and Maggie Porter's granddaughter developed terrible rashes. Both families draw water from wells near Sawyer Creek. Dr. West's grip tightened on the steering wheel. Clara, how long has the old factory been shut down? About 15 years, but Mayor Collins got some investors to reopen part of it recently. Been making a big show of bringing jobs back to Pinewood. The pieces were beginning to fit together. Dr. West thought of Michael, how his symptoms had been dismissed as common childhood ailments until it was too late. She'd spent years blaming herself for not seeing the signs sooner, for trusting the system to protect her child. At the hospital, she found Lily sitting up. In bed, some color returned to her cheeks. Nathan had stepped out to get coffee. How are you feeling today? Dr. West asked, checking Lily's vital signs. Better, Lily said softly. Her voice was surprisingly clear for a child so ill. Are you going to make us go away? Go away? Dr. West repeated. Nathan says people want to separate us. That's why we have to stay hidden. Dr. West sat on the edge of the bed. Lily, I promise I'm trying to help you both stay together. Lily studied her with wise eyes. You look sad sometimes, like Nathan does when he thinks I'm sleeping. Cow. Observation caught Dr. West off guard. I lost someone I loved very much, she admitted. He got sick like you. Lily reached for Dr. West's hand. Did he get better? Before Dr. West could answer, Nathan appeared at the doorway, his expression alarmed. Dr. West, there are men in suits asking for you at the front desk, he said tensely. They say they're from the State Environmental Agency, but I saw them talking to the mayor yesterday. Dr. West stood, squeezing Lily's hand reassuringly. Stay with Lily. I'll handle this. As she walked down the hallway, Dr. West steeled herself. In Chicago, she'd learned the hard way what happened when powerful interests were threatened. But this time, she wouldn't stay silent. This time, a child's life depended on her finding the truth. The 2 men in pressed suits waited in the hospital's small conference room. They introduced themselves as representatives from the State Environmental Protection Division, but Dr. West noticed they didn't offer business cards. "We understand you've been asking questions about water quality in Pinewood," the taller one said. His smile didn't reach his eyes. "I have a patient with symptoms consistent with heavy metal poisoning," Dr. West replied evenly. "As her physician, I'm investigating potential causes." "Without proper authorization," the second man interjected. "Environmental testing falls under state jurisdiction." Dr. West leaned forward. "And when was the last time the state tested Sawyer Creek, particularly the section downstream from the reopened factory?" The men exchanged glances. "That information is part of an ongoing assessment," the first man said. "Meanwhile, we must ask you to refrain from alarming the community with premature conclusions. My concern is my patient's health, not your assessment timeline." Dr. West stood up. "Now, if you'll excuse me, I have rounds to complete." As she walked away, the second man called after her. "Dr. West, we understand you left Chicago under difficult circumstances. It would be unfortunate to see history repeat itself." The thinly veiled threat stopped her momentarily, but she continued walking, her resolve only strengthening. Later that afternoon, Clara Bennett arrived at Lily's room carrying a small basket. The elderly woman had baked fresh muffins and brought a hand-knitted blanket in soft blue yarn. "Hospital. Blankets are always so scratchy," Clara said, gently placing the blanket over Lily's legs. Lily traced the intricate pattern with her finger. "It's beautiful," she whispered. "Thank you." Clara's eyes brightened at the child's voice. "Well now, you sound better already," Dr. West observed from the doorway as Clara fussed over Lily, straightening the blanket and offering muffins. Nathan sat nearby, watching with cautious appreciation. It had taken some convincing for him to accept Clara's help, but Dr. West had explained that sometimes strength meant knowing when to let others in. "The treatment is working," Dr. West told Nathan quietly. "Her levels are improving and the rash is fading." Relief washed over Nathan's face. For the first time since they'd arrived, his shoulders relaxed slightly. "I've been thinking," Clara said, addressing Nathan. "That back room in my house has been empty since my grandson moved out. It gets lovely morning light, perfect for someone recovering." Nathan's guard immediately went up. "We have our own place, which currently has contaminated water and needs repairs," Dr. West pointed out gently. "Just until we figure things out, Nathan." Before he could respond, Frank Miller from the general store appeared with a large paper bag. "Brought some groceries," he said gruffly, setting the bag down. "And I could use help at the store 3 days a week if you're interested, Nathan. Proper payroll this time, not just cash under the table." Nathan looked overwhelmed by the sudden outpouring of support. Dr. West understood his hesitation. When you've been let down repeatedly, kindness becomes suspect. "People care, Nathan," she said softly. They just needed someone to remind them how. Lily reached for her brother's hand. "Can we stay with Miss Clara for a little while? I like her blankets." Nathan's resistance crumbled in the face of his sister's request. "Maybe just until you're stronger," he conceded. As the small group continued planning, Nurse Jenkins appeared at the door, her expression troubled. "Dr. West, there's been an incident. 3 more children just came in with symptoms similar to Lily's, all from the same neighborhood near Sawyer Creek." Dr. West's momentary relief vanished. "I'll be right there." As she hurried down the hallway, her phone buzzed with a text message from an unknown number. "Water samples. From factory runoff tested positive for arsenic, lead cadmium. Report buried 6 months ago. Be careful who you trust. A friend at County Health." Dr. West stopped in her tracks, the familiar weight of moral obligation settling on her shoulders. She thought of Michael, of the system that had failed him, and now threatened to fail these children too. Behind her, she heard Lily's laughter floating from the room, a sound of hope amid the growing storm. The hospital waiting room filled with anxious parents as word spread about the sick children. Dr. West moved quickly between examination rooms, documenting symptoms that mirrored Lily's: rashes, fatigue, stomach pain, and elevated metal levels. All 5 families get their water from wells near Sawyer Creek, Nurse Jenkins confirmed, adding another chart to the growing stack. Dr. West rubbed her temples, fighting fatigue. And the mayor's office is still denying any connection to the factory reopening? They're calling it an unfortunate coincidence, Jenkins replied with obvious skepticism. When Dr. West returned to her office to make notes, she found Director Simmons from the County Health Department waiting. His nervous demeanor contrasted sharply with his official position. "I shouldn't be here," he said, glancing toward the door, "but I can't sleep at night anymore." He slid a folder across the desk. Inside were water quality reports dating back 6 months, all showing dangerous contamination levels in Sawyer Creek. These were never released to the public, Dr. West realized, scanning the documents. Simmons nodded grimly. Mayor Collins said addressing it would jeopardize the factory investment. They promised to implement filtration systems, but he trailed off. They never did, Dr. West finished. And now, children are paying the price. Later that evening, Dr. West visited Lily at Clara's house. The girl was sitting up in bed drawing pictures while Nathan helped Clara prepare dinner. "How's our patient today?" Dr. West asked, checking Lily's vital signs. "Much better," Lily smiled, showing her a drawing. "This is you, and this is Nathan, and this is Miss Clara." Dr. West studied the colorful figures holding hands. "It's beautiful, Lily." "Are the other children going to be okay?" Lily asked suddenly. "The ones who got sick like me?" The question caught Dr. West off guard. She chose her words carefully. "We're doing everything we can to help them." Lily nodded solemnly. "Nathan always says that's all anyone can ask for, that you try your best." From the kitchen doorway, Nathan watched them, his expression a mixture of pride and lingering worry. As Dr. West was leaving, her phone buzzed with a text from the hospital. "Emergency board meeting called for tomorrow. Your presence requested." She knew what that meant. The pushback was beginning, just as it had in Chicago when she'd raised concerns about lead contamination in public housing. But this time, looking back at the warm light of Clara's house where Lily and Nathan had found temporary sanctuary, Dr. West made a silent promise. This time she wouldn't back down. The hospital board meeting was exactly what Dr. West had expected. A thinly veiled warning wrapped in bureaucratic language. "We appreciate your dedication, Dr. West," the chief administrator said, "but your investigation methods are causing unnecessary alarm in the community." 5 children hospitalized isn't cause for alarm, Dr. West countered. "Which is precisely why we need to handle this delicately," Mayor Collins interjected from his seat at the table. His presence at a hospital board meeting was irregular, but telling. "We've arranged for specialists from the state capitol to review the cases. In 2 weeks, Dr. West noted. Meanwhile, the children continue to be exposed. The tension in the room was palpable as she left. Instructions to maintain protocol ringing in her ears. At Clara's house that afternoon, Nathan helped Dr. West sort through a box of documents he'd kept over the years, evidence of his attempts to navigate a system that had repeatedly failed them. "This was the first time I called social services," he said, showing her a form dated 3 years ago. "They said without proof our mother had abandoned us, they couldn't open a case." Form after form, call after call, Nathan had desperately sought help while trying to keep them together. Letters to distant relatives had gone unanswered. Applications for assistance were rejected due to missing parental signatures. "I even went to the mayor's office once," Nathan said, his voice hollow. "His secretary said he was too busy to see me." Dr. West's phone buzzed constantly with updates from the hospital. More families were coming forward, frightened by their children's similar symptoms. "The good news," Dr. West told Nathan, "is that Lily's responding well to treatment. Her latest tests show significant improvement." In the living room, Lily and Clara were sorting through old photographs. Lily's laugh, stronger now, drifted through the doorway. "I never heard her laugh like that at home," Nathan said quietly. "Always had to be so careful, so quiet." As they continued through the papers, Dr. West found a faded medical record from when Lily was 5. This notes early symptoms similar to her current condition, she observed. The doctor recommended follow-up tests, but there's no record of them being done. Mom scheduled them, Nathan remembered. But then the factory closed and Dad lost his job. We lost our insurance. Mom said we'd go when things got better, but he didn't need to finish. Things had never gotten better. Later. That evening, as Dr. West prepared to leave, she received a call from Director Simmons. "They know I gave you those reports," he said, his voice shaking. "My office was searched today. Dr. West, I'm being transferred to a facility 3 hours away, effective immediately." Before she could respond, he continued urgently, "Check the factory ownership records. The shell company that reopened it, follow the money." The line went dead. Dr. West looked back at Clara's house where Nathan stood in the doorway watching her. For the first time, she saw not just determination in his eyes, but something new, hope. It made what she had to do next even more necessary, regardless of the personal cost. The Pinewood Community Center buzzed with tension. What began as a small informational meeting organized by Dr. West had grown into a town gathering. Families with sick children sat in the front rows, their worried faces illuminated by fluorescent lights. Mayor Collins and factory representatives occupied one side of the room, while hospital staff clustered on the other. "We're simply asking for immediate water testing and distribution of bottled water until results are confirmed," Dr. West explained, standing beside a poster displaying the pattern of illness cases, all clustered along Sawyer Creek. Mayor Collins stepped forward, his politician's smile firmly in place. "While we appreciate Dr. West's concern, we must avoid jumping to conclusions. The state assessment team will be here in 2 weeks," interrupted Mrs. Wilkins, whose son had been hospitalized. "My boy is sick now." Murmurs spread through the crowd. Clara Bennett stood, her voice steady despite her age. "I've lived in Pinewood for 73 years. When the factory was operating before, children got sick then, too. Nobody listened to us then either." This revelation caused a stir. Dr. West hadn't known about previous illness patterns. Frank Miller spoke up from the back. "My sister lost a baby 20 years ago. Doctor said it might have been the water, but no one would confirm it. That's ancient history." The factory manager countered, "Our current operation follows all environmental guidelines." "Then you won't mind providing those compliance reports," Dr. West challenged. The meeting devolved into heated exchanges. Community lines were being drawn, between those demanding answers and those fearing economic consequences if the factory closed again. As people dispersed, Clara gathered the affected families, creating an impromptu support network. They exchanged phone numbers and arranged meal deliveries for those with hospitalized children. Nathan watched from the sidelines, Lily beside him. She'd insisted on coming, though still weak. "They're just like us," Lily whispered, trying to be heard. The next morning, the Pinewood Gazette ran an unprecedented front-page headline: "Health Crisis or Cover-Up. Local Doctor Raises Alarm Over Water Contamination." The editor, Tom Jackson, had resisted previous attempts to publish environmental concerns, but his own grandson had developed a rash after swimming in Sawyer Creek. Nathan found Dr. West in the hospital parking lot, his face pale. "Someone left this on Clara's porch," he said, handing her a note. The typed message was simple, but chilling. "Stop making trouble or the girl goes into state custody. Some secrets should stay buried, like your past in Chicago." Dr. West's hands shook slightly. Whoever was behind this knew about Michael, about her confrontation with the hospital board in Chicago that had cost her career there. "Nathan, I think you and Lily should stay somewhere else tonight, not at Clara's." "We're not running," Nathan said firmly. "That's what they want, for us to disappear again." Dr. West looked at him with newfound respect. The boy who had hidden for years to protect his sister was now standing his ground. "Then we'll fight," she said. "But carefully, because this just became much more dangerous than I thought." The morning after the town meeting, Dr. West arrived at the hospital to find an official letter on her desk. The hospital administration had temporarily reassigned her from emergency care to administrative duties, citing protocol concerns. "They're trying to sideline you," Nurse Jenkins whispered, closing the office door. "But we're still with you. Most of the staff have children or grandchildren in Pinewood." Dr. West nodded gratefully. "Have the test results come back for the newest patients?" "Same pattern as Lily's," Jenkins confirmed. "And Dr. West, state officials finally arrived, a week earlier than announced." Through her office window, Dr. West watched men in suits examining patient charts. Their hurried arrival suggested the pressure was building on multiple fronts. Meanwhile, at Clara's house, Nathan sat at the kitchen table surrounded by old newspaper clippings that Clara had kept for decades. Lily helped sort them by date, her small hands working methodically. "Look at this," Nathan said, pointing to a yellowed article from 20 years ago. "Environmental study inconclusive on factory waste claims." The byline belonged to Sarah Matthews, their mother. Mom was a journalist? Nathan stared at the paper in disbelief. Clara nodded. "Before she married your father. She was investigating the factory's first operation when she met him. He worked there as a supervisor." This revelation stunned Nathan. "She never told us." "Maybe she couldn't," Clara said gently. "That story was her last. The paper pulled it before the full investigation was published." Nathan carefully placed the article aside. Their mother's voice, preserved and faded. Ink raised new questions about her disappearance. That afternoon, Frank Miller organized a community response team. Volunteers delivered bottled water to families along Sawyer Creek, while others collected water samples for independent testing. When Dr. West arrived at Clara's after her shift, she found the living room transformed into an information center. Maps marked with illness clusters covered one wall, while a timeline of the factory's operation filled another. "The community's rallying," Clara explained. "Tom from the Gazette is printing daily updates. Even the church is involved. They're raising funds for families with medical bills." Dr. West shared what she'd learned from hospital records. The illness patterns stretch back decades, always spiking when the factory operated at full capacity. Nathan added his discovery about their mother. If she was investigating this before, it might explain why she left so suddenly. Dr. West finished quietly. Not abandonment, perhaps something else. Their conversation was interrupted by a commotion outside. Through the window, they saw Mayor Collins's car parked in the street. He wasn't alone. A woman in a department. Human Services uniform stood beside him. "Dr. West," Clara called urgently. "They have papers." Dr. West moved quickly to the door, positioning herself protectively. "Dr. Eleanor West?" the woman asked formally. "I have an order to evaluate the living situation of minors Lily and Nathan Matthews, with potential emergency removal pending investigation." Behind her, Mayor Collins couldn't quite hide his satisfied expression. "On what grounds?" Dr. West demanded, accepting the document. "Anonymous report of medical endangerment," the woman replied. "We're authorized to take temporary custody of the minor child, effective immediately." Nathan appeared at Dr. West's shoulder, his face drained of color. "No," he said, his voice breaking. "You can't take her." Dr. West scanned the document, her mind racing. They had anticipated pushback, but not this, not so soon and not aimed at the heart of what mattered most to Nathan. Dr. West studied the custody order, her medical training helping her maintain outward calm despite her racing heart. "This child is under active treatment for heavy metal poisoning," she stated firmly. "Moving her now could jeopardize her recovery. As her physician, I strongly advise against this action." The social worker hesitated. "The order specifies immediate removal, based on an anonymous report that coincidentally arrived after we began investigating water contamination," Dr. West countered. "I'm prepared to sign medical documentation stating this. Transfer poses a significant health risk." Inside the house, Lily clung to Clara, her small frame trembling. Mayor Collins stepped forward. "Dr. West, this isn't your decision. The state has protocols. The state also has regulations about water safety, Clara interrupted, joining them at the door. Funny how those protocols get ignored. A small crowd began gathering on the street, neighbors drawn by the official vehicles. Frank Miller's truck pulled up, followed by Tom Jackson from the Gazette. "What's happening here?" Tom called, camera in hand. Mayor Collins' confident demeanor faltered at the growing audience. "This is a private family matter. It's about Lily," Nathan announced loudly. "They're trying to take her away because we spoke up about the water." Whispers spread through the onlookers. Several parents whose children had fallen ill stepped forward. "Is this what happens when we ask questions?" Mrs. Wilkins demanded. "Our children get threatened." The social worker looked increasingly uncomfortable. "I was simply told there was a medical emergency situation." "There is," Dr. West agreed, "but it's affecting multiple children in this community, including Lily." She handed the woman her card. "I'm filing a counter-petition as her physician. At minimum, this requires a 72-hour medical hold before any transfer." Tom Jackson was taking photographs. His reporter's instincts awakened. "Mayor Collins, would you care to comment on why a child speaking out about water contamination is suddenly being removed from her home?" The confrontation might have escalated further, if not for Nathan suddenly swaying on his feet, his face alarmingly pale. "Nathan?" Dr. West turned just as his knees buckled. She caught him before he hit the ground, easing him onto the porch. Steps. His skin was clammy, his breathing shallow. "When did you last eat?" she asked, checking his pulse. "Yesterday, maybe," he mumbled. "Been busy with Lily." Dr. West looked up at the social worker. "This young man has been caring for his sister while likely suffering from the same contamination. He needs medical attention too." Something shifted in the social worker's expression. Professional detachment giving way to genuine concern. "I can delay enforcement for 48 hours pending medical review," she said quietly. "But I'll need proper documentation." As an ambulance was called. For Nathan, Mayor Collins retreated to his car, his plan having backfired spectacularly in front of witnesses and a newspaper reporter. Later, in the hospital room where Nathan was receiving fluids and treatment, Dr. West sat beside his bed. His tests had confirmed low-level heavy metal poisoning, less severe than Lily's, but present nonetheless. "I can't lose her," he whispered, fighting to stay awake despite exhaustion. "She's all I have." Dr. West squeezed his hand. "You won't lose her. But Nathan, you can't help Lily if you don't take care of yourself too." From the doorway, Lily watched, with solemn eyes, Clara's protective arm around her shoulders. "We need a more permanent solution," Dr. West said softly. "They'll try again." Nathan's gaze sharpened despite his fatigue. "My mother's research. There must be more somewhere. If she was investigating the factory before, rest now," Dr. West urged. "Tomorrow we search for answers." But as she left the hospital that night, Dr. West found an envelope on her windshield. Inside was a hospital board letter announcing a disciplinary hearing and a train ticket to Chicago. The message was clear: leave town or lose everything again. Dr. West stood in the quiet of her apartment, staring at the train ticket to Chicago. The choice seemed brutally simple: leave Pinewood and save her career, or stay and fight for Lily, Nathan, and the other affected children, likely losing everything professionally in the process. Her phone? Clara Bennett. "You need to come to the Matthews house," Clara said without preamble. "We found something." 20 minutes later, Dr. West was kneeling on the dusty floor of the Matthews living room. Nathan, discharged from the hospital that morning against medical advice, was pulling up by floorboards beneath where their mother's desk had once stood. "Lily remembered Mom hiding things here," Nathan explained, his voice still weak but determined. "Said it was their special secret place." Lily nodded solemnly from her perch on a rickety chair. "For important papers." The hidden compartment contained a waterproof document box. Inside were research notes, water testing results, and a journal, all belonging to Sarah Matthews. She knew. Nathan whispered, scanning the pages. Mom was building a case against the factory. These water samples show contamination levels from 15 years ago. Dr. West examined a map marked with testing locations. She was thorough, testing multiple points along the creek, documenting illness patterns. But why would she leave? Lily asked, the question hanging heavy in the air. As they carefully examined the documents, a name kept appearing in Sarah's notes. Westfield Industries. The connection clicked for Dr. West. The shell company that reopened the factory is a subsidiary of Westfield, she realized. Mayor Collins has been promoting it as different ownership, but it's the same company, just under a new name. Look at this, Clara said, holding up a letter. It's from Westfield's legal department to your mother. A cease and desist order, threatening a lawsuit if she continued her investigation. Nathan's hands trembled as he read another document, an unsent letter from Sarah to her children. My dearest Nathan. And Lily, he read aloud, voice breaking. If you're reading this, something has prevented me from returning. What I've discovered puts us all in danger. People have been paid to keep silent. Others have been forced to leave. I've secured evidence in a safety deposit box at First National, under my maiden name, Stevens. Nathan, you're stronger than you know. Keep Lily safe until I can make this right. The letter was dated 4 years ago, the week she disappeared. Lily's small hand found Nathan's. She didn't abandon us. She was protecting you, Dr. West said softly. Their discovery was interrupted by Frank Miller's arrival. His expression was grave. Mayor called an emergency town council meeting, he reported. They're voting to dismiss all claims about water contamination as unsubstantiated panic. They've brought in a doctor from the state capitol to refute your findings. When? Dr. West asked. 1 hour. They didn't publicly announce it, trying to keep it quiet. Dr. West looked at the evidence spread before them. Years of research, a mother's desperate attempt to protect her community and children. Nathan, can you walk? He nodded, pushing himself up. Try to stop. Me? Clara, can you stay with Lily? The older woman wrapped a protective arm around the girl. Of course. We need to get to that bank, Dr. West said. And then to the council meeting. Nathan carefully gathered his mother's documents. All this time I thought she left because of us, because it was too hard taking care of us alone. She never stopped trying to protect you, Dr. West assured him. Just like you never stopped protecting Lily. As they headed for the door, Dr. West's phone buzzed with a text from Nurse Jenkins. Hospital board expedited your hearing, tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. 9. They're trying to revoke your privileges before you can present evidence. The pressure was mounting from all sides now. Dr. West thought of Michael, of how she'd promised him as he lay dying that she would never again stay silent when children's lives were at risk. Some promises transcended professional consequences. Let's go, she said firmly. It's time to finish what your mother started. The First National Bank of Pinewood stood like a relic from another era. Marble columns flanking heavy wooden doors that had witnessed decades of the town's history. Inside, the manager hesitated. When Nathan requested access to a safety deposit box under the name Sarah Stevens. We'll need proper identification, the manager explained. Nathan produced his driver's license and birth certificate. She was my mother, Sarah Matthews, born Sarah Stevens. And proof of her unavailability. The manager added delicately. Dr. West stepped forward. Mr. Daniels, 5 children are currently under treatment for heavy metal poisoning. Whatever is in that box might help us understand why. Time is critical. The manager's eyes darted to the clock, then back to them. There are protocols. My mother disappeared 4 years ago, Nathan interrupted, his voice steady despite the emotion behind his words. She wanted me to find this. Please. Something in Nathan's quiet dignity seemed to reach the manager. With a nod, he led them to the vault. The safety deposit box contained 3 items. A USB drive, a sealed envelope addressed to the State Attorney General, and a small recorder. Nathan's hands trembled as he held his mother's possessions. We need to get to the town meeting. Dr. West reminded him gently. The Pinewood Town Hall meeting room was already packed when they arrived. Mayor Collins sat at the center of the council table, flanked by men in expensive suits. Westfield Industries representatives. A distinguished-looking gentleman in a lab coat stood at the podium, concluding his presentation. Therefore, these isolated medical cases show no conclusive connection to B. Water quality issues, he was saying. Mass testing would only create unnecessary panic and economic hardship for the community. Mayor Collins nodded approvingly. Thank you, Dr. Reynolds. Now, if there are no further questions, I have a question, Dr. West called from the back of the room, her voice carrying through the murmurs. All heads turned as she and Nathan walked down the center aisle. Dr. West, the mayor said tightly, this meeting is for official business. The health of this community is official business, she countered, reaching the front. Dr. Reynolds, have you reviewed the actual patient files of the children currently hospitalized? The specialist looked uncomfortable. I've seen the summaries provided. Summarized by whom? No answer came. Frank Miller stood from his seat. I move that Dr. West be allowed to speak. As a business owner and taxpayer, I have the right to hear all sides. Several council members nodded in agreement, forcing the mayor to relent. You have 5 minutes, he said curtly. Dr. West placed Sarah Matthews' research on the podium. 15 years ago, a local journalist named Sarah Matthews documented a pattern of illness in children living near Sawyer Creek. The factory, then owned by Westfield Industries, was releasing untreated wastewater containing heavy metals. The room grew silent. When she attempted to publish her findings, she was silenced. 4 years ago, she disappeared after gathering additional evidence. Dr. West nodded to Nathan, who connected the USB drive to the room's presentation system. The screen filled with chemical analysis reports, medical records with identifying information redacted, and photographs of children with the same distinctive rash now seen on Lily and the other patients. This isn't new contamination, Dr. West continued. It's a continuation of a problem that was temporarily halted when the factory closed, and has now resumed with its reopening. One of the Westfield representatives leaned toward the mayor, whispering urgently. These are serious allegations, Mayor Collins said, but without proper verification. We also found this, Nathan interrupted, holding up the recorder. His voice shook slightly as he pressed play. Sarah Matthews' voice filled the room. October 15th, 2021. Mayor Collins offered me $20,000 to stop my investigation. When I refused, he threatened to have my children taken away. He said Westfield would ensure I never worked in journalism again. I fear for our safety now. If anything happens to me, this recording and the accompanying evidence should be delivered to the State Attorney General's office. Gasps and murmurs erupted throughout the room. The mayor's face drained of color. That's taken out of context, he stammered. Nathan faced the crowd, finding his voice. My mother didn't abandon us. She was trying to protect us, and every child in Pinewood. For 4 years, I thought she left because we weren't important enough. For 4 years, I've been trying to keep my sister safe, and all this time, the people who should have been protecting all of us were hiding the truth. Tom Jackson from the Gazette stood up, voice booming. I move we suspend this meeting and reconvene with state investigators. Present. The motion quickly passed despite the mayor's objections. As the meeting dissolved into chaos, Dr. West received an urgent text from Clara. Lily's fever has returned. Hospital now. Dr. West grabbed Nathan's arm. We need to go. It's Lily. As they rushed from the hall, neither noticed. The Westfield representative making a phone call, his expression grim as he watched them leave. The battle was only beginning, and the stakes had just risen higher. Lily lay pale against the hospital sheets, her fever spiking dangerously. Dr. West worked quickly despite the tension in the air. Everyone knew about her scheduled disciplinary hearing the next morning. Her body's fighting the residual toxins, Dr. West explained to Nathan, who hadn't left his sister's side. Her immune system was weakened by years of exposure. But she was getting better, Nathan said, his voice hollow. With fear. Recovery isn't always linear. Dr. West adjusted Lily's IV. We need specialized treatment, a chelation protocol that's not available here. Nurse Jenkins approached with a concerned expression. Dr. West, the board members are asking why you're treating patients after being reassigned to administrative duties. Because I'm a doctor and this child needs one, Dr. West replied firmly. Outside Lily's room, the hospital corridor buzzed with activity. Word of the town hall revelations had spread, and other families with sick children were arriving, demanding examinations and answers. The small rural hospital was quickly becoming overwhelmed. Dr. West stepped out to call a former colleague at Children's Hospital in Little Rock, arranging for Lily's transfer and specialized treatment. When she returned, she found Frank Miller and Tom Jackson in Lily's room. State investigators just arrived in town, Tom reported. They've sealed the mayor's office and the factory records. And this came for you, Frank added, handing Nathan a small envelope. Inside was a key with a motel name and room number, accompanied by a handwritten note. She's been waiting. Nathan stared at the key, his hands trembling. Could it be? Dr. West shared his unspoken thought. After 4 years of absence, could Sarah Matthews have finally returned? I'll drive you, Frank offered. But Lily, Nathan hesitated, torn between his sister and the possibility of finding their mother. I'll stay. With her, Dr. West promised. Nothing is more important right now than stabilizing her for transfer. After Nathan left with Frank, Dr. West focused on Lily's treatment, trying to ignore the weight of tomorrow's hearing hanging over her. Her medical career was likely ending, but she couldn't bring herself to regret her choices. As evening settled over the hospital, Clara arrived with home-cooked meals for the staff and families waiting for news of their children. The elderly woman had transformed from a solitary neighbor into a community organizer, coordinating volunteers and support. The Chassiu. Whole town's talking about Sarah's evidence, Clara told Dr. West quietly. People are coming forward with their own stories from years ago, children who were sick, complaints that were ignored. A commotion in the hallway drew their attention. Hospital security was escorting a man from the building, one of the Westfield representatives from the town meeting. He was trying to access Lily's medical records, Nurse Jenkins explained, joining them. Claimed he had authorization from the board. The implications were chilling. Even with investigations beginning, some were still trying to control the narrative and possibly destroy evidence. Dr. West checked her watch. Nathan had been gone for hours and she was growing concerned. Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Watch your back. Not everyone who claims to help can be trusted. Before she could process the cryptic warning, Nathan burst into the room, his face transformed by emotion. Frank Miller followed, supporting a thin woman with familiar eyes, the same shape and color as Lily's. Mom, Lily whispered from her bed, her voice weak but filled with disbelief. Sarah Matthews moved slowly to her daughters. Doriu see tears streaming down her face as she touched Lily's cheek. My beautiful girl, she said brokenly. I'm so sorry. Dr. West stepped back, giving the family space for their reunion, but Sarah gestured for her to stay. You're the doctor who helped my children when no one else would, she said. You need to hear this too. Sarah's story emerged in halting fragments. After gathering evidence against Westfield, she had been followed, threatened, and eventually forced to flee when direct threats were made against her children. They said they'd make sure Nathan lost custody of Lily if I went. Public, she explained. I've been living 3 hours away, working under a different name, trying to build a case strong enough that they couldn't bury it again. Why didn't you contact us? Nathan asked, the pain of abandonment still raw in his voice. I tried at first, Sarah said, but my letters were intercepted. Then I learned they were watching you. Any contact would have put you in more danger. She squeezed his hand. I thought I was protecting you by staying away. Dr. West's pager beeped urgently. Lily's transfer ambulance had arrived. As they prepared to move her, Dr. West's phone rang. It was the hospital administrator. "Dr. West," he said tersely, "in light of new evidence presented to the board, your hearing has been postponed indefinitely." The small victory was overshadowed by Lily's critical condition. As they wheeled her toward the ambulance, she suddenly gripped Dr. West's hand. "Thank you," Lily whispered, "for seeing us when everyone else looked away." The simple gratitude brought tears to Dr. West's eyes, reminding her why she had become a doctor in the first place, and why some battles were worth fighting, regardless of the cost. As the ambulance doors closed, Nathan turned to Dr. West with determination in his eyes. "This isn't over," he said. "We still need to make sure this never happens to another family." Dr. West nodded, knowing he was right. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but tonight at least a family torn apart by corruption and indifference had found their way back to each other. And sometimes that was enough to keep fighting. 6 months later, Lily Matthews sat sketching by the newly restored creek, her health improving each day. The specialized treatment had worked, though her recovery journey continued. Beside her, Nathan helped community volunteers plant trees along the water's edge. Sarah Matthews, now directing Pinewood's new environmental health initiative, documented the restoration efforts for a national publication. Dr. West approached, carrying water testing kits. After testifying before state officials, she'd become the hospital's chief of pediatrics, implementing rural healthcare reforms. "Remember when no one would listen?" Lily asked softly. Dr. West smiled, watching families picnic on grounds once contaminated but now healing, like the community itself. "Sometimes," she said, "it only takes one voice to remind others how to speak up."